Viva! Viva SADTU, viva! Viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva! Viva ANC, viva! Viva! Amandla. Thank you very much. I extend my greetings to you, Program Director, General Secretary Maluleke. I also extend my greetings to the President of SADTU, Comrade Mapila, the General Secretary of COSATU, Comrade Soli Petwe, and the First General Secretary of the party, Comrade Madala Masuku. And I also extend my greetings to the ministers who are here and all the national office bearers of SADTU and all other leaders of various other formations who are also here. Comrades and friends, I believe I am here as President of the ANC, not as your employer. And I think it's important to make that distinction. I am truly honored to have been invited to, once again, to this National General Council of SADTU, an important structure of your union, as well as an important structure in the trade union movement and our federation, COSATU. Tomorrow, the 5th of October, we will mark World Teachers' Day, when we should, all of us as the world, reflect on and celebrate the role that is played by teachers throughout the world in advancing human progress. Teachers are responsible for the development of any country's most valuable resource, its children. More than any mineral or natural asset, more than any products or industry, the children of our country and the children of the world indeed always shape the futures of those countries and our country indeed, and in our case determine our country's fortunes. That places a great responsibility on teachers to educate and to prepare our children well, because the teacher's role goes way beyond just merely teaching. Teachers are more than an educator. They are counselors, they are mentors, they are also role models, but they are also the external parents to any student or any learner. Once a child is admitted to school, the role of a teacher shapes the life of that child, and that process begins. Teachers play a crucial role in our life to succeed in our careers, in our jobs, in business, the role that we can play in the economy. And in short, they play a role in making all of us successful human beings. That is your role as teachers. A good teacher helps learners to become good human beings in society and good citizens of their country. Because teachers know that students or learners are the future of their countries. Let us know what is the importance of teachers in a student's life. Now, I know that as members of SADTU, you know what role you play in the lives of our children. Because a child is like a piece of clay that teachers can shape in any form. Whatever a child learns is from their parents, and after them is from yourselves as their teachers. Because teachers provide them education and knowledge. Teachers are equally important in any student's life. They become an encouraging factor. They boost their confidence, and they become moral supporters for students. I will want to touch on another aspect where you, and I've said this before in the presence of the Minister of Basic Education, about the role that teachers should have as we face another major challenge, which could also be classified as a pandemic. Your overriding role, therefore, goes just beyond being just a teacher in the classroom. But your role also places a huge responsibility on the rest of society to support, to respect, to affirm, and to celebrate you as teachers. This NGC takes place at an important time for our country, for our education system, and for the teaching profession as well. While COVID-19 has severely tested the capacity of the state and the resilience of our people, it has also required us to craft new ways of doing things, and has also opened up new pathways to progress. The economic and social impact of the pandemic has been devastating, significantly worsening the country's employment crisis, where we lost 2 million jobs in just 1 year. To address the challenge of youth unemployment while the economy recovers, we established the Presidential Employment Stimulus to provide work, livelihood opportunities, mainly to the unemployed. This initiative has now reached more than 1 million participants, as I said in my weekly letter. More than 60% of these participants are women, and more than 80% of them are young people. Alongside the creation of these opportunities, the Presidential Employment Stimulus has also been making a difference in several areas of development. One of the most significant areas of impact has been in our schools. In the largest program supported by the stimulus, over 600,000 young people have been placed as school assistants in over 22,000 schools. This has been the largest program that has taken place in just one period in the history of our country. The reports we have received from school management, reports I've also received from Minister Motshekga, reports that we've received from many of you as teachers and other stakeholders have said that these school assistants have made a positive contribution to the learning environment in our schools. Now, there are others who always want to look at the dark side of life, who have dismissed this initiative and have said, could you say that somebody has had a job when you employed them in your garden for a day. Now, that is the most stupid analysis I have ever heard, and that came from a politician from one of the parties, without understanding the impact that many of you have felt about these assistants who came into your schools during the period of COVID. Now, I applaud those young people who bravely took up the task to come and work alongside yourselves, and who gave you assistance, who gave you support, and who you were able to delegate a number of tasks to. And these young people have been at it for a year or so, and they've learned valuable skills. Not only have these young people been capacitated themselves and empowered and given meaningful work experience, but many of them have also discovered a passion for teaching and aim to study further. And indeed, a number of them have already enrolled to study your profession further at a number of institutions. And I think we should applaud those young people for what they have done. Now, we appreciate SADTU's continued support for this program, and would appreciate your union's view on how to improve the reach and the impact of this initiative. And a number of you have even said, much as it was a stimulus initiative during the period of heightened COVID, it should not be stopped, or that it should be continued with. The education sector is facing a number of huge challenges. Incidents of violence, as you said, G.S. Maluleke, the abuse and bullying in our schools are of great concern. The fact that teachers can now be attacked in class, in schools, and some of them even be stabbed and some of them even be killed, is something that we've never heard of. But another scourge continues. The incidents of racism are greatly distressing and show that there is among some people in our country who want to reverse the gains that this democratic government has achieved. We are concerned about the apparent increase in incidents of violence, yes, against learners and teachers, often perpetrated by criminals who find their way into schools and harass and abuse learners as well as teachers. We need to work together across society to ensure that our schools are no-go areas for criminals, that our schools become safe havens for our children, that our schools become the best places where teachers and our principals can work and exercise their craft of being educators. This means that our school governing bodies, our community policing force, our communities as a whole, our various local businesses, unions, and the police need to work together to ensure that every single school in our country is a place where educators and learners feel secure and safe. As we work to ensure that schools are suitable places for learning, we need also to equip them for the challenges and the opportunities of the fourth industrial revolution. As we undertake far-reaching reforms to our telecommunications industry and increase our investment in infrastructure so that we can improve the look, the feel, and the functionality of our schools, we need to ensure that schools and other educational facilities are the first beneficiaries of our infrastructure build process, as well as the improvement of our ICT. We do call on the private sector to work with us to invest in upgrading, in modernizing, and in the expansion of our school infrastructure to benefit all learners, particularly in the underserved areas. The current situation in many schools across our country is most worrying. After the neglect of our schools by the previous apartheid regime, I've been told that in order to improve and to upgrade and to modernize a number of schools, for instance, in a province like Limpopo, would possibly take up to 75 years. Now, we don't want to see that happening. We want the pace of the improvement of our schools to be hastened. And that is why we are working on financial instruments, financial proposals that can enable us to improve schools now, as many as we possibly can in the following years, and not wait for 75 years, and be able still, through the financial engineering that we're working on, still be able to pay on a sequential basis for the improvement. Because our children, and indeed yourselves, cannot wait for the improvement of a school in the form of either a proper ablution block, a proper staff office, a laboratory, a library, or even a hall. You cannot wait for 75 years for that to be done. So we are working on various instruments that can enable the school improvement program to be up and running as soon as possible. In a world that is becoming increasingly digital, SADTU has a significant role to play in ensuring that its members are ready for new technology and the new subjects as part of our shared effort to get our learners ready for this new world. Teachers need to educate learners about the benefits, but as well as the risks associated with emerging media and technology. We understand that the teacher union collaboration that is responsible for equipping our teachers with the skills and capabilities to implement coding and robotics in schools is being well received by teachers. We commend SADTU for the role it is playing in the training of 32,000 of our teachers in this regard. That is to be commended. It isn't often that you get a union embarking on an initiative like this, but at great scale, to expose up to 32,000 teachers in an effort like this. So you are to be commended, and I would like to appreciate this effort greatly. As the basic education sector, we need to work collaboratively with the Department of Higher Education, Science and Innovation to advance the fourth industrial revolution in our education system. Our higher education institutions can themselves do much more to prepare educators to teach the new subjects offered as part of the three-stream model. The education sector is critical to our country's economic growth, and we have to ensure that our educators are fully equipped with the skills, and the know-how, and the tools that they need. Another significant development is the move of the early childhood development function to the Department of Basic Education from the Department of Social Development. This means that the educational development of the child should now be continuous. It should be a process that continues from their earliest years to when they are ready and equipped to leave school. And this is where another big task arises for you. I've often spoken about this reality that we have in our country, and we saw it playing out just 2-3 days ago when the MEC Panyaza Lisufi was opening up the registration in schools, where tens and tens and tens of thousands of parents were applying for their children. I counted more than 160,000 just in one province. Now, every year we know that close on to 1 million children registered in schools for a 12-year period of education. But at the end of that 12-year period, we've often found that less than 50% of those children do finally write their 12th year exam, which is matric. I've often asked myself where the 550,000 or so young people go to. And I've addressed this with some of you during an awards ceremony. And I know that the minister and the department have taken this up, but I'm saying it here for emphasis once again. 550,000 or so just disappear into the ether because only 450,000 or so write the final exam after the 12-year period. And I've often asked myself, where are they? And do you know where we find them today? We find them lining up to receive the 350 social relief of disaster grant. That's where they are. They did an analysis for me and they said close on to 59% of the people who are receiving that 350 are people who have not passed matric. So that's where they finally are to be found. What this means is that we all have a responsibility. All have a responsibility to make sure that those young children do not drop out of school, because they are school dropouts. And we therefore, as a nation, need to reduce that school dropout phenomenon. Because once they drop out, they end up in the unemployment ranks. For many of the people today, and there are quite a number of graduates who are not employed, but the majority of people who are unemployed are those who, in the end, did not find their way finishing at least 12 years of schooling. And the question, therefore, that arises for me is the role of the teacher. A teacher has a role as well when it comes to this. Because as a teacher, the parents hand over the child to you and say, we will stay with this child for 8 hours of the day or so, and we give this child to you for 16 hours or so. And when that child misses in your class, it should be the teacher's responsibility to find out where that child has gone to. If you don't see that child for 3, 4, 5 days, that's when you then should interact with the parents and find out what is happening with that child. So your task goes beyond being just a teacher. It also is your role as a social worker. Your role is to go and be like that hen. When the little chick goes missing, that hen goes looking for that little chick so that the chick can come back into the warmth of the hen. We therefore need, as teachers, to be fully engaged in the lives of our children, the children that we teach. For we've been given a responsibility by the nation to bring them up, to mold them, and to make sure that they get an education. I've imposed this burden on the minister and the department, and I've said we must find ways and strategies to lower this incidence of dropouts, school dropouts. And as teachers, you are in the front line. The parents are also in the front line. And each time I go to do door-to-door, when I get into homes, I often ask about the number of children in a home, the level of education, and sometimes when I hear that a child has dropped out of school, I say, as a parent, why did you allow it? Because sometimes you hear stories like, no, the teacher did not like me. That's why I dropped out of school. Sometimes you hear, no, the other children were abusing me or bullying me. That's why I dropped out of school. These are matters that we need to deal with collectively, all of us. So I'm raising this, that our consciousness must be raised. If you've got a class of 34, 35, as our classes are big, you've got to know every child in your classroom. Are they bigger than that? Okay. They are much bigger than that, but your task is also to know every child in your class. A teacher must know every child they teach, and if they disappear from the classroom, we must therefore follow up, which should also include going to visit the child at their home. If we are to also address another important task that you have, that is to improve reading and numeracy, we need to invest more in our children's formative years, and as a revolutionary union, SADTU must lead in ensuring that our education system itself transforms the economy and improves the social conditions of our learners. That is where the three-stream model adds great value. While our education system must produce doctors, lawyers, scientists, policemen and women, engineers and teachers, it must also be a system that produces carpenters, welders, boiler makers, mechanics and plumbers. It must produce IT specialists, coders, programmers, as well as technicians. It must produce entrepreneurs and innovators. These are the skills any growing economy needs. They are the skills that support our quest for reindustrialization, and we call on SADTU to help raise awareness about the opportunities provided by vocational training. We must encourage our learners to acquire these skills to pursue paths of entrepreneurship, of self-employment, and a number of people have often said entrepreneurship needs to be taught in our schools. There should be a subject that just deals with that. Our focus should be on creating opportunities for young people to be absorbed into the labor market, not into the unemployment ranks. As we prepare to mark World Teachers' Day, I once again express our nation's gratitude to members of SADTU and all educators for their courage and their commitment in the face of COVID-19. Teachers took it upon themselves to ensure that learning went ahead even under the most difficult of circumstances. Yes, I realize that we have lost not 1 year or 2 years of learning, and as G.S. Maluleke was saying, it could even be 5 years. And teachers have been working hard alongside school management, department officials, parents, to make up the lost time. When we were under pressure to open schools, or when we put a everyone under pressure to open schools during COVID. It was quite a heated debate, even in cabinet and across the nation. And I remember Minister Motshekga being resolute that unless we opened up the schools, we would lose even more time than we could have lost. And I want to applaud the courage that you displayed. It felt at times like we were launching you into a situation where a number of you would just get infected. And I'd like to use this occasion to appreciate and celebrate the dedicated teaching force that we have in this country. We commend the vital contribution teachers make to our future by nurturing, shaping the minds and the lives of our young people. Throughout this very difficult period, our teachers became symbols of resilience and have remained loyal to their calling to educate the leaders of tomorrow. We remember and pay tribute to all the teachers who fell along the wayside, who succumbed to COVID-19. In their honor, we must do everything that is possible to guarantee the safety of teachers and ensure that the teaching and learning environment remains conducive at all times. In their honor, those who fell along the wayside and passed away, may their souls rest in peace. We must celebrate the excellence and dedication of those teachers who spare absolutely nothing of themselves in the effort to build a new society underpinned by a better life for all. We owe you a great deal as the teachers of our nation. In acknowledging and celebrating these outstanding patriots who have the responsibility to shape our collective future, we are encouraging all teachers to continue and never become weary and never tire from the task that you are executing. We look to teachers of this country to help develop a citizenry that will be able both to grapple with the challenges and seize the opportunities presented by the various opportunities and technologies that we have. And I know that one of the challenges that you're having to deal with is the electricity or energy challenge that we are going through now. The load shedding that we are going through also impacts negatively on the work that you do. We are sad and deeply negatively affected by all this, but we would like you not to tire. We also look forward to you to continue to empower our learners in the best ways that you can with regards to values and attitudes, that they should take informed decisions that advance their own lives so that they can become active members of society. The future development of a nation truly lies in the hands of a good teacher, as they are the provider of education and prepare students to be the future of a nation. Your role, as I repeat, is very crucial. It is a responsibility that lies on your shoulders, and we are rather glad that you are executing it as well as you have. And I'd also like to pay tribute to SADTU as an organization. You have succeeded to organize almost 70% of the teaching people in our country. and you've been carrying this task forward with great responsibility. I found you to be a well-organized union, a union that knows its responsibility and its place in society, and I'd like to thank you for that, and may you carry on with that. Because in the end, you are the midwives of a new breed of patriotic citizens, and as a teachers' organization, you are conscious of that, and you carry this responsibility with a great deal of dignity that we thank you for. And obviously, the other challenge that you have to face is to ensure that we rid our country, as well as the sector, of corruption and gender-based violence. I appreciate the stances that you have taken as a union when it comes to issue of abuse of children in schools, that you take a very strong position of this, and that we appreciate. As with all teachers in our country, the members of SADTU carry this noble responsibility. It is a responsibility that you continue to perform, as I said, with dignity, with pride, and with diligence. Comrade President, I wish you the very best as you carry on with this National General Council. I know that out of this General Council will come important decisions as you grapple with the various challenges that not only face your sector or your union, but that face our country as well. As our country is facing enormous challenges, we look to SADTU to make a contribution in the form of ideas, thoughts, and suggestions on how best we should address some of these challenges, including the challenge of unemployment, including the challenge of poverty and inequality. You are a center of knowledge as a union and as a sector. In you resides innovative ideas. In you resides ideas that can take us forward. We, as those who are in government, do not have a monopoly on everything that is correct or the best. We rely on formations such as yours and your members, that in your gatherings such as the National General Council, you can also discuss national issues and impart some of the thoughts and suggestions. So I look forward to receiving some of those suggestions at the union buildings with immediate effect. Thank you very much.
All right, President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his capacity there as ANC President, addressing the South African Democratic Teachers Union, their General Council meeting, which of course is currently underway. It being World Teachers Day, in fact, tomorrow. The President talking about the importance of teachers, telling them, reminding them that they're valuable and important to the lives of children and particular students, and that government is working on improving schools now and not in what could be 75 years it would take to improve some of our schools. He also talks about the need to lower incidence of dropouts and the fact that up to 5 years of learning have been lost due to COVID-19, and that they're trying, and he acknowledges that the teachers are trying indeed to make up for that lost time. Some of the issues they touched on by the President there at the General Council meeting of SADTU this afternoon.